Record. And you can change the setup. That's better. Hey, what's happening?
Stuck in quarantine. How's it going on your end?
Same here. Here, let me play real quick. I'll add it in so it'll sound different, but I will. You can hear the intro music.
Oh, you got a whole legit setup here.
Trying to be legit. But my brother made me some intro music. This is it. Oh, sorry about that. Here we go. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
What's happening? So you're stuck in quarantine. What is this for you? Day what? Sorry, we should say welcome to the show, Alice Hamilton.
Thank you,
which when your name came up on there, I was like, who the fuck is this? But is Alice is short for Alexandra?
Yes.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Hilarious comedian, Alice Hamilton. How you doing?
Thank you. Doing great. Trying to exercise every day. I bought a weight at Target. I didn't get a what are those things called?
Kettlebell?
Yeah, I didn't get one of those because they were too expensive. So I just got like the actual thing you're supposed to put on like a weight that you lift up.
Just like a disc?
Yeah, I'm doing prison workouts at home.
Yeah, you're just like, let me get a heavy thing.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, you can do a lot with that.
Significantly cheaper. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been trying to exercise too. The wife and I both have kettlebells, and we've been jogging around the neighborhood. That's about it. We're in a new neighborhood now. We're over in Santa Monica now.
Oh, that's cool. That's actually, I used to babysit out in Santa Monica.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
How deep in? How rich?
They weren't super. I think they had more money than what they were doing because like they moved from Korea and just had to pick an apartment blind. So I think they wound up in a much worse place than they were expecting to be in.
They're like, there's middle class here. We don't.
Yeah. They were not excited to share a washer and dryer with 4 other units. So
I see. Yeah. Yeah, we are sharing ours. We got a nice spot, but it's definitely like we're on the more outer skirts of Santa Monica. We're on like 19th Street.
Mm-hmm.
I think it only goes to like, I don't know, Bundy or something is where like the line is for Santa Monica and West LA. But it's definitely like there's some really rich houses and then there's some middle class and lower class. It's like a pretty mixed neighborhood.
Yeah.
We got a Ralph's and a Whole Food 360. So, it's good.
Oh, nice.
Good mix of people. So do you even know the name of the show, what it is?
I don't know the name of it. I was on your other podcast, which was Fireside Chats, but I figured you weren't going to have a fire going on your end.
No, but I have thought about setting up a thing here. Yeah, if anybody's listening, go to the YouTube, and me and Eric Steinenfeld made this little show, Fireside Chats, that a bunch of comics have been on where we grill stuff like hobos in a park.
That food was good. I remember the food. It was so good.
Yeah, the food came out well. A lot of those recipes now coming in handy just making food at home. Are you usual home food cooker?
I mean, honestly, not really. I actually, the family, the rich Beverly Hills family that I was nannying for, when I was interviewing with them, they were like, our nannies usually cook us dinner. Is that something that you can do? And I tried to hint at saying no by saying, I've never done that before, but I can try. And they were like, perfect. That's wonderful. And I was like, you're not getting this. So we had some trial and error for a while, but then I figured out how to cook for them.
They just ate it?
Yeah. And then they'd be like, we didn't love that one. I'm like, I'll never do it again. That's fine. Yeah. And then I would like learn these like fancy meals for them and then come home and like cook them for my boyfriend to try to be like all impressive and shit.
Nice. Worked out pretty well. Just be like, I just know this out of nowhere.
Yeah. I'm like, it's cool. Baked mustard salmon, not a big deal.
Ooh, that sounds good.
It's really good.
So this is to live and bike in LA. And yeah, I came up with it just from the year and almost 2 years I've been biking around LA. But I figured you would probably have stories or at least instances of having been like a nanny and stuff, of taking kids biking or having little kids biking around different parts of LA.
Oh yeah. Actually, when I nannied in Santa Monica, me and the kid that I nannied for, he was like 3 years old and he only knew like 2 sentences in English. So they hired me to like teach him English and nanny him.
Oh no.
So the mom was home most of the time. So we would like bike to the park all the time. And there's that Santa Monica park over there.
Yeah.
We biked over there and I'm sitting there and I'm staring at this black woman and she's got like really, really, really long hair. And I was just staring at it because like it wasn't like that stick straight Asian hair that usually is a wig. It was like real hair, like it looked like kinky and there was volume to it.
Yeah.
And I'm just staring at it, like I don't see a lace front. I don't think this is a weave. This looks like this lady's real hair. And then I thought, I was like, well, I mean, Sierra's got really long hair, so I guess this lady might also have really long hair. And then for a second I was like, is that Sierra? And then she talked and I was like, that's not what Sierra's voice sounds like. And I was like, all right. And then like a minute later, she walks over to her kid and says, hey, future, mommy's going to go use the bathroom. And I'm like, oh my God, it is Sierra.
It was.
And I was staring at her for 15 fucking minutes.
Well, you can get away with it. It's more awkward if somebody like me were doing it. You know, you at least can be like, I liked your hair. And
yeah. No, me and the kid I was with, we fucked off to the other side of the park immediately. I was so fucking embarrassed. As we left, we saw like this giant black SUV. The driver's in the front seat keeping the AC on for her and the baby. And I was like, yep, that's fucking Sierra.
And that's going to the park for Sierra too. It's just like, driver, bring me down. We'll let the child out the door. All right, back in now, back in.
Why is Sierra British?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know who she is. But
Sierra's a singer. She's a singer.
Yeah, I've heard that name before, but I couldn't name a song or anything. All I'm picturing when you're saying this is Erykah Badu when she has the giant wig on. I'm like, that's probably what she looks like.
You nailed it.
Okay, cool.
They look exactly the same.
Yeah, you know, anything dangerous ever happened with the little kids though, biking around?
I mean, like in Santa Monica, the danger
is laid back.
It's pretty laid back, but you will get like a tweaker hobo every once in a while. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I always want to like give sympathy to homeless people. And here's where I'm fucking up. Whenever I find money on the ground, I always treat it like the next homeless person that I see must have dropped it. And so I just give it to them.
Interesting theory. I've never heard that before, but that is that.
I just made it a rule for myself. It's just ground money is homeless money. Just give it to a homeless. I picked up like a 5 and I was like, God, I feel so great. I found $5 on the ground. Then I was like, how much better would a homeless person feel if they found this $5?
Yeah.
So I just give it to them.
And also if there's somebody within eyeshot that like, you're not even attached to having that money, just go like, hey, homeless person, you're going to ask me for money. Here's money right here. Just like you're the Tinder to that connection. Just make
exactly.
it happen.
I'm a facilitator, if nothing else.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, I'll go to give a homeless person money when I was with a kid, and then they're just like freaking out, and I'm like, nope, next one. That I can't risk it.
That is a topic that comes up a lot with riding bikes. How much closer and like more involved you are with homeless people, especially in LA, because you're not just flying by them in a car. Like you are approaching them and then going by like at not that fast of a pace. And so it just makes you think about like homeless and like places where there's the giant encampments along sidewalks and stuff a lot differently than if you're just like flying by on a car.
Yeah. God, there's some comic that has a Vespa. I don't know his name, but he's opening for D'Elia all the time. And he just jokes about how like when homeless people try to get cash on a Vespa, he's like, I'm 2 wheels away from being you.
Yeah. That's how I feel I mean, even on a bike too, you're like, some of them are on bikes. So like where there's really, the only difference is like I'm going somewhere and you're just like biking around wanderously.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder what's so you've not been out at all, just like essentials, haven't gone for like a drive or anything?
We have been having our groceries delivered. We did go for a drive though. We drove to downtown and then we got from downtown to Santa Monica in like 19 minutes.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So yeah, no one's out there. The only people that are outside that we saw are influencers taking photos in front of all the like tourist trap things because no one else is crowding around. They're dressed so nice, and I'm just like in pajamas with my boyfriend. Like, this is a cool place. I stayed here in a hotel once when I was a kid, and like,
I drove through downtown maybe 2 weeks ago just to see what it was looking like and what they were doing with all. Like, I went down through Skid Row too to see.
Oh yeah.
If they were moving, it seemed like they had moved a lot of people, but there were still a lot of people down there. But I did not dare stop or get out of the car because I heard this and it freaked me out. Was one reason why they're so worried about the homeless population getting corona is that all of them living in such close proximity and it being an airborne thing that they could create a giant cloud of COVID that's just like that is all of Skid Row, just the air and everything there. So it's like no matter, even if you just go through there, you're just like in it no matter what.
Like they're all just Pigpen from Peanuts.
Yeah,
just with the cloud
and those
around
clouds
them.
are going to come together like a perfect storm, and then that's the new smog in LA.
It's just from these poor people. There was someone I think, was it Los Angeles? I don't know if it was Los Angeles or New York. But they were lighting up all the empty rooms in hotels at night to where it was like the shape of a heart on the side of the building. And they're like, this is to support all the nurses and doctors. And everyone on Twitter was like, are there still homeless people outside? You could put them in there.
In those rooms.
Like, be more efficient than a fucking heart.
I want to say I did see that in driving through, like on the 110 or whatever, driving through downtown one time. There was a building that had lights on to make a heart, but I don't know if it was an office building or a hotel. But yeah, that's great. Like, we don't have anybody in any of.
Yeah, it's a heart for the nurses and a fuck you to every hobo outside.
Well, and the other thing too is like some people, it feels like you go by and if you said like there's a pandemic happening, they'd be like, what are you talking, like just no fucking idea.
Mm-hmm.
Especially early on in some like MacArthur Park neighborhood, like 2 weeks ago, they had, when the rest of the city was like quiet and shutting down for the first week, it was like they hadn't fucking heard about it at all. It was business as usual.
Yeah.
Where are you? What part of town are you living
in? We're in Burbank.
Oh, how is it in the valley? What's the valley like?
It's pretty chill. There's only like been, I mean, last time I checked it was 40 cases out here.
Yeah.
They're actually testing a theory that California might have been exposed earlier, and that's why our numbers are so down.
Yeah, I would, if they test everybody, I think it would be hilarious if they tested everybody and they're like, oh, you all had it a year ago.
Yeah. There was a bunch of people who got like super, super, super sick in January and were tested for the flu and strep and didn't have either. And so they're wondering if that was like, if it came over here sooner than we thought and we just got like maybe a different version that didn't kill a bunch of people.
Yeah, we got the cool version.
Yeah, we got like a lesser version that just made us immune, which is dope. So
yeah, take that, San Francisco. SoCal is cooler. You grew up in Oregon. There was something. Riding bikes in Oregon. Did you do that growing up there?
Oh hell yeah! You ride bikes to go pick blackberries and shit. You just don't ever see anyone else. You know,
yeah, pretty like on the roads and stuff.
Yeah, I used to bike everywhere when I lived in Oregon. I would bike down. This is just such an old sentence. I would bike down to the Hollywood Video or the Blockbuster. You put a DVD in your backpack and head on back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had, we didn't even have video stores. We just had the two convenience stores in town had videos you could rent. And one of them even had porn videos. And it was weird because it was like, it's already weird that the convenience store just has like 12 movies for rent, but then also like 3 porns in a town of like 1,200 people, and so it's like, hey, Chuck, everybody knows you rented Tits a Wonderful Life, all right? Like, you're the only one who comes in here for it.
Tits a Wonderful Life.
Yeah, that was a real one they had there. I forget what
It's funny. It's like, does Dave still have Tits a Wonderful Life? Because I've been waiting for 2 weeks and he's not bringing it back. Come on.
I'll just go to Dave's house.
Yeah, cut out the middleman.
Stop coming into it was called the Village Tie-Up was where I worked. And it is, I believe it's still there. It is still there. So there was 2 convenience stores in my town, the Village Tie-Up and the Market Basket. And they were owned by competing Bobs. A Bob owned each one, and they hated each other.
The Bobs weren't friends?
No, not at all. They'd been longtime rivals, and eventually they had both sold. Both stores were bought by one new family that moved to the town, and they tried to change the name of both stores to just the Harrison General Store.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody calls them that in the town. They're still the Market Basket and the Tie-Up. Like, no signs on it on the outside say Market Basket or Tie-Up at all, but nobody in the town is ever going to switch.
Everyone knows.
Yeah.
Portland has a small town feel for being a huge city, and we had our big arena was called the Rose Garden, and then like Moda Health Insurance bought it and called it the Moda Center, and so all the DJs have to call it the Moda Center, but all the people are like, it's the fucking Rose Garden. Yeah,
they did that for a while. I think that's why they went back to the Garden. They tried calling it was the Garden in Boston forever, and then they built a new one and they called it like the TD Bank North Center. And now they just, after like 10 years, they just went back to the TD Garden. They're like, we'll give you the bank on the beginning of it, but we're still calling halfway.
One of the most embarrassing bike stories bike situations I ever had was I was just riding my bike from it was like 3 miles one way. I was riding my bike to a Subway because those commercials really had an impact on me in high school. I was like, if Jared can do it, so can I.
Well, it also seemed like when Subway first started too, it wasn't considered like a low rate sandwich shop.
No.
It was like, especially where I was in Maine, it was like, this is probably the freshest ingredients.
Yeah, that's a similar thing in the suburb of Portland that I was in. Downtown Portland, they were like, it's a chain, but like out where I was, we're like, oh, fancy.
Oh, a chain.
Oh, wow, we're getting a Subway. I rode my bike down a Subway, and as I was riding my bike down the sidewalk for like almost the whole 3 mile ride, people are just like staring at me, and I couldn't figure out why. And then I was listening to my iPod, and then when I got to Subway, I like pulled my phone out and it said 16 missed calls. So I couldn't hear it because I had my headphones in, but like everyone I was biking past just heard my cell phone ringing the entire ride.
Because at that time, listening was separate than the phone.
Yeah.
See, that wouldn't happen now.
Another slightly dated story because no one has iPods anymore.
Oh, the iPod. I first had a mini disc player.
Yeah.
I went from like the Discman, Walkman, Discman, and then the first thing I had was a mini disc player. And in rural Maine, that was like I was from the future. People couldn't believe, and you put like 5 CDs on one little disc, and be like, dude, I have every Sublime disc on this right now.
I remember a friend of mine was bragging because he had an MP3 player that played 4 songs. It was green. He got it for free. It was lime green. He got it for free from his dad's work. And he's like, no, it's not a Walkman. It's an MP3 player. And it had just like the little like scrolling marquee to tell you what song was playing.
Yep, I remember those.
You just blasting the Newsboys.
A short-lived time where like the amount of music you had on you kind of made you more popular. Like if you were the person with the car with the giant CD booklet in it, like you're like, oh, they're always driving to the dance. We'll have them pick us up. They have the best CDs. And now it fucking doesn't matter at all. You have every song that is made. You can just pull up on YouTube wherever you are.
Yeah. I had a CD case that was like, it was like a double CD case. It was like 2 CDs per page. And I thought I was like the fucking shit. And then I met someone who had 4 CDs per page. And I was like, God damn it, I'm such a fucking loser. But then they were carrying around this huge, heavy thing that had like 65 CDs in it.
I remember
it was on them. They were going to lose it.
I had the double one like you're talking about, but then I also had like a little hard case that maybe held 6 or 12 CDs in it, like accordion style. And that was like, okay, we're leaving the car. We're going to bring just a couple with us with the Discman. That was like the travel case.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, what was and then do you ever do this? Because I remember definitely like probably 2004, 2005, heavy Christmas presents where I would illegally download every single album of somebody's like favorite band and then burn them onto CDs. And like I gave my mom like every single Beatles album one time. And she was like, "This is amazing." I'm like, it was completely free. I just had to buy the fucking disc.
My dad came home. He bought like a bunch of blank discs, and it came in a set where there was like 5 of them that were gold, 5 were pink, 5 were green, 5 were blue, and then I think 5 were white or something. And he had 5 kids, so we each got our own color pack of CDs, and that's how we know whose were whose.
Mm-hmm.
When I wound up with the blue ones, and so yeah, we were like all burning just all these terrible mixes. Because none of us knew shit about music because we were all homeschooled. So it's like half worship music and then like lose my mind but like some shit, just rappers and shit we were not allowed to listen to, and try to like trick my mom into thinking the whole thing was worship.
Yeah, could you get away with like it might have been before your time, but MC Hammer had some like God raps in there.
He did. We listened to a little bit of his. Here's the thing, the fact that he's saying about God, it loosened my parents up about his other music. So then we could listen to Can't Touch This because my mom saw him on TVN. So he must be good.
Also, Can't Touch This. I don't really see that as like
no.
bad. You could be like, Mom, he's talking about alcohol and we can't.
My parents were so strict that like there would be bands that were Christian that would do a cover of a secular song. Like Sixpence None the Richer did a cover of Don't Dream It's Over by Crowded House. I wasn't allowed to listen to Crowded House's version of it because they're not a Christian band, but I could listen to Sixpence's version of it.
So Sixpence is a Christian band. I did not know that. I remember one, like the one hit that they had, but I never dove deeper.
Oh, we listened to a lot of Sixpence.
What about Three Doors Down? I always heard they were.
I never heard that they were Christian, and maybe I just wasn't into their music and they were Christian, but yeah, I just didn't really fuck with them too hard. But I think that Three Doors Down sang at Trump's inauguration, so they might be Christian. Yeah.
That was probably a big comeback for them.
My mom she would check your CD player randomly, just checking for contraband, non-Christian music, and if you opened it and there was a non-Christian CD in there, she would just snap it in half. So once like my brother's got those like headband headphones on, and so we can all hear that he's listening to Linkin Park, and my mom walks by and she goes, "Open your CD player, what's in there?" And me and all my sisters are just like staring straight forward like, oh shit, he's about to get busted. And then something distracted my mom and she turned around for a second. My brother opened his CD player, switched it to DC Talk, closed it again, and then when she turned around, she was like, "Open it, let me see what's in there." He was like, "Look, it's just DC Talk." The thing is, he had put the Linkin Park CD in his pocket, so then he sat down and it snapped in half.
Yeah. So she still won in the long run. Man, that's great. My parents were like, one, by the time they weren't religious at all, so they didn't give a shit about that. But like, I feel like with my brother and both my brothers, they were just like, we're working on drugs. Like, we're way past music. Like,
we have bigger issues.
Yeah, it would be like having a mop out in a tidal wave. It would just be like, this is not going to help.
Yeah.
How many siblings did you have?
4. I have 3 sisters and 1 brother.
And are you the youngest?
I'm 4th out of 5.
4th out of 5. Who's the youngest? The brother?
No, my brother is 2nd oldest, so we never got to like hold him down and put makeup on him or anything. He'd kick our asses.
Yeah,
he had a good spot in the lineup.
But also that means like he's probably a little more well-rounded, opposed to like if you're a youngest brother with 4 older sisters, that's going to have a serious effect on you, as either make you a great person or a terrible person.
People used to, just because I was like raised in church, whenever we tell people like, oh, there's 5 kids, 4 girls and 1 boy, all these church people would always be like, oh, that poor boy. And I'd be like, yeah, we suck. Like, fuck you. You fucking asshole.
Yeah, I felt bad for my mom as I got older when I thought about it. Of like I had two older brothers and my dad. She was the only female in the house, and is to be a mother and the only female too. Like if you're the only daughter and it's like all dudes, like at least you get, like treated like you're the little princess and stuff. But when it's just the mom, it's just you're just putting up with four dudes.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm gonna get this ready. I have a video that I show, but also want to ask because growing up in Portland, there's so much good music that came out of there and Seattle and stuff, and you just never knew about any of it growing up.
No, I was never in that loop. I wasn't allowed to listen to like non-Christian music at all. And so I'd have to do it secretly. And like I would like I would like turn my Walkman to like the, top 40s radio and just listen to pop bullshit and
Yeah.
like alternative music. And so like, yeah, I wasn't learning the names of bands because I would just hear their songs on the radio. And
And
actually did the same thing with stand-up. I would just watch Comedy Central Presents. I didn't know who was famous and who wasn't. I was just kind of I was like, all of these people were strangers to me.
yeah, I never went deep into stand up as far as knowing people and actually finding like lesser known people that I really liked until I was probably like 19 or 20 because we didn't have cable or anything when I was growing up. And so I never saw Comedy Central. I would only occasionally see stand-ups on like the Tonight Show or something. I think I
Mm-hmm.
remember seeing Mitch Hedberg on Conan.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until, yeah, I was like 2021, I'd even heard of like Bill Hicks or anybody like that.
Yeah.
Because there was like no way to fucking see any of it.
No. My brother he brought in a burned CD with one burned CD was actually one of it wasn't burned CD, it was the real thing. It was a DVD of Chappelle's Killing 'Em Softly, and
Ooh.
also a burned CD of Bill Engvall's Here's Your Sign, and like the Blue Comedy Tour. So that was two of my first introductions to comedy, was like just the polar opposites of Dave Chappelle and the Blue Comedy Tour.
You're like, wow, these are really, I wonder if there's anything in between.
Yeah, there's such different perspectives. My brother
Yeah.
also brought home Chris Tucker's stand-up, but he listened to all of these before he let his little sisters listen to them, and never let us hear the Chris Tucker stuff because I think there was too much sex stuff in it.
Oh, I was going to say, he's like, if you're listening to Chappelle, you don't need to hear that.
Yeah. No, he played us one joke off of the burned Chris Tucker CD, and then he took it out and took it back upstairs. He's like, that's the only one you can hear.
Saying that it does remind me, we had one stand-up growing up that like played our high school and stuff a bunch. Have you ever heard of Bob Marley?
I know who Bob Marley is, the singer. Is there a comic
No,
called
no, no.
Bob
There's a
Marley?
comedian in Maine
Okay.
named Bob Marley, and he
From
started.
Maine. Okay, that makes sense. I'm following.
Yeah, yeah. There's no confusion.
Yeah.
There is, and if you ask, do you know Bob Marley? They for sure know you mean the comic. But he started with like Rogan and Mark Maron and all those guys in Boston, but
Hmm.
was out of grew up in Portland, Maine, and uh, got like a Comedy Central half hour early. He was in. You ever see the movie Boondock Saints?
Yes, I did see that movie.
So he's the bumbling cop in that. He's like
Oh,
Willem
okay.
Dafoe's partner.
Okay. I
Um,
know who you're talking about now.
yeah, he's a stand-up comic. So he moved out to LA in the 90s and got like a couple sitcom shots that never went, and then just moved back to New England and now does theaters pretty much all throughout New England, makes probably $1.5 million a year. Occasionally does like the Tempe Improv and does improvs in places where Mainers go during the winter, or like New England
Oh,
people go during the winter. And
he's cornered his market, it sounds
oh
like.
yeah, he's huge in New England though. I mean, he plays like the theater that like I think Bert Kreischer just played their last Merrill Auditorium. It's biggest theater in Portland, Maine. It's super nice. He does like 5 nights in a row over New Year's Eve every year
Damn.
and sells out all of them. But outside of New England, only like people who've been doing comedy a long time have ever heard of him. But he was the first guy that I saw, and he came to like our high school, and it was just like that's what stand up was that guy. And then you'd like see somebody on the Tonight Show or hear about other, and you're like, Oh, he's a comic like Bob Marley.
Oh, that must be California's Bob Marley
Yeah,
is on the
exactly.
Tonight Show tonight.
But I have been.
You know who's Comedy Central half hour I think still might be my favorite is Chad Daniels, and I think he's doing a similar thing in like maybe somewhere around like Illinois.
Yeah, no, I think he lives in Minnesota.
Oh yeah, he's just holding over there.
Yeah.
Still like doing stand up, but like just not fucking with Hollywood, which is like good for you, dude. Like he's just raising his family and doing what he loves out in a place that he can stand to live in.
Yeah, a lot more guys are doing that now, but like Nate Bargatze does that. He just lives in Nashville now. But he kind of there's a difference, and I think like Bob Marley cornered that market where like Nate like got a nationwide following and was like, okay, now I don't need to be here, but I can still tour all over the country. I'll just go live where I want to live. And I could totally see doing that. Like if I had everything together so I didn't have to live here, but could still play every city around the country, I would, live somewhere else.
Yeah, you'd no longer live and bike in LA.
No, not at all. I mean, maybe Malibu, but I'm either getting real rich here or getting out of here. That's my plan. Like, if I stay here and stuff takes off, I am not going to be a man of the people. I am getting, I'm going to the top of a fucking mountain and just going to piss on everybody. That is my goal. Would you move somewhere else? Do you like, would you ever move back to where you grew up?
Honestly, like my entire life, my dad would go on these business trips and they would offer to fly him out. And most of them were to Los Angeles, and they would offer to fly him out. And he would say, why don't you just give me the cash for the plane ticket? I'll put that into gas and I'll just drive myself down. I'd rather drive. And so they would like rent him a hotel room, and then he would drive. We had a 15 passenger van. All 7 of us would get in that bitch, drive from Portland to Los Angeles, Portland to Vegas, Portland to Albuquerque, New Mexico. And they would get him a hotel room expecting that maybe him and his wife would be staying there.
And it was like 1 2-bedroom.
Yeah, it was like two queen beds. And he was trying to fit 7 of us in Caesar's Palace, you know, to just
oh yeah, like wherever you were going to is like a convention hotel room too, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And so we would get a vacation. He would have to work the whole time, spent none of the time with us on the trip. But every single time we'd go to California, we were staying there as tourists in a pretty decent hotel. So I just like fell in love with it. And before I even wanted to do stand up or any Hollywood bullshit, I was like, I have to go live in Los Angeles because it's just warm there.
Yeah.
I just hate the fucking cold. So I will stay here in this toilet hole while it's sinking into the ocean. After the earthquake, which will probably kill me, but after the earthquake, I'll still be fucking around here.
Well, you know, you'll be in the new Hollywood after the earthquake. Like everything from the hills.
Toronto. That sounds cold as fuck.
Everything from the hills, you know, down through Santa Monica and Venice will just slip into the sea, and Burbank will be the new like Santa Monica.
Will be the new beachfront property.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, we haven't even been here that long, but I definitely like Santa Monica very much. It's a lot quieter, a lot more neighborhoody, but also like growing up in Maine, there was like, remember the show Rocket Power?
I loved that show.
Yeah. So I was into like skateboarding and
you played a lot of street hockey?
Yeah, just like doing but it was all like on dirt roads and shit. And you're always like, it must be so cool to skateboard in Los Angeles and stuff, or like live in just Southern California had like a mystique about it. And so now living here, like I especially like that part of like, I can skate down the street to the beach. I've never had that before. It seems so cool. So hopefully we'll be able to go to beaches soon.
Yeah. Chris and I drove down to Santa Monica, just looked at the ocean and then drove back because I had to use the bathroom. And I was like, we're not using a public bathroom. That's how you get corona. Let's just drive home.
For sure. All right. So this is a video that I show everybody for a few different reasons. I find it, well, you'll see. Let's see your reaction. How do you feel about crash videos, like videos of people falling or crashing or whatever?
I mean, if you're seeing someone get hurt, it's hard to watch, but if it's just a cool explosion, I'm kind of down.
Somebody does get hurt, but
I'm excited. I'll watch it. Let's see it.
But well, two things you might like. It's a white man, so it's a straight white man,
Fuck 'em.
so you might like that. And it's on purpose. It's not like taken advantage of, got hurt. It was like they're trying to go for
Gotcha.
something. There, can you see my screen now?
I can.
Okay. Make this full screen.
His name's Tanner. Oh, dude.
All right, that's it. So your initial thoughts, what do you think?
You know what? White people deserve it. You guys.
Sorry, hang on. Where is it coming from? Oh, there we go. That's right. Okay. So yeah, initial thoughts. So what I find funny about it is the reaction and the guy yelling after he yells twice that his ankles are broken, the other guy who thinks he's helping out and goes, his ankles are broken.
There's a video that was been going around recently of a guy who's like apartment flooded and then he jumps over the edge and slides down the car.
Yep.
And when he does, that little girl just starts screaming, "That's our car," because she's so astonished and doesn't know what else to scream.
Yeah.
I got vibes of that when he's like, "My ankles are broken." The other guy's like, "His ankles are broken."
And he's also like, he seemed like a guy who maybe doesn't do a lot in the whole like filming scheme of it anyway. So he was like, how can I, like one guy's like, I just got to keep rolling on this. I would love to see how long that guy kept rolling. That would be,
Yeah.
where the video stops, but like if you watch it and you're like, an hour and a half, you filmed everything.
That was pretty fucking wild.
But yeah, I'm a big fan of that skier though. His name's Tanner Hall. He's one of the greatest ever. But that video is it's a real good reaction too, because I've shown it to some people and they just don't like seeing like crashes like that at all. And then other people have no problem with it. They just find the crash hilarious. Other people find the screaming afterwards funny. Malik B did a freestyle over it afterwards.
Malik B is he did a freestyle about the video.
Yeah, because like right when it I'll show you, right when it goes into oh god, stop it. Right after he says my ankles are broken, like this beat kind of drops. And so he decided to do a freestyle about ankles breaking, which is on my Instagram if any listeners want to check out. But like
my ankles are broken.
Right here. Can you hear this?
Is it the rap? I can't hear the rap.
No, it's not. I didn't know if you could hear the video or if it's just on my end. I think it's just on my end because I'm not sharing the screen. Doesn't matter. Check out my Instagram. It's on there. I put his whole rap on there. It's pretty good. But also something that we've noticed, which waiting for any viewer or listener to do, is to cut out my ankles are broken and put it over basketball clips of people, juking people. And they just drop to the ground and somebody yells, his ankles are broken.
There was a movie that came out a while ago. I think it was called Adrift or something. It was Shailene Woodley. Her and her like boyfriend are like he's like, I'm gonna sail this whole long way, you know, you want to come with me? It'd be great. And then like a hurricane gets him, and it was based off a true story, and like she wakes up and has to like pull him out of the water, and she doesn't know how to sail, but like all of his bones are broken, so she has to sail them home and then try to get there. And every once in a while a movie like that will come out, and I won't call it by its name. I'll just call the movie White People Getting What They Deserve. Like don't fucking boat from Florida up through hurricane season, you fuckhead. And watching this video of my ankles are broken feels a lot like watching a video of white people getting what they deserve. What are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, there especially, you know, it is like that's the thing with those type of sports. Everybody ends up either dying or getting really hurt because you're just like you keep pushing it to the next level and stuff. But the sailing thing, I especially agree with you, because anytime somebody's like, oh, they lost in the middle of the Atlantic, they're trying to sail across solo, I go like, we don't need to do that anymore.
Yeah.
We did it.
What do you do? What are you trying to prove to people?
Yeah. I mean, even if like that, what's her name? Thunberg there. She sailed over here. And even if she had gone down, it would have been like, you know, like, I guess global warming versus you get your message across. Like, what's better?
All of these, there's some deaths where like every death is sad, but at a certain point you're like, what were you doing?
Yeah.
You didn't have to do it that way. Whenever I hear of anyone dying on like, you know, Mount Everest, I'm like, no shit.
Yeah.
No shit.
You weren't even like bringing a message or something. You were just trying to go up and down.
You're just trying to be a tough guy.
Or like my grandfather passed away, I think like a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago. And, but he lived at home until he was 93. And then he fell at his house, ended up in the hospital for a week and a half or 2 weeks on hospice and died. And I'm like, that's best case scenario, how you go out. He lived by himself until 93, never had to go into a home until the last 2 weeks. I'm like, that's, you know, like ideally that's how, other than just like 93, die in your sleep. Like, you couldn't ask for a better way to go.
That's pretty close to best case scenario.
Yeah. What's your best case scenario for dying?
My best case scenario for dying, if I'm being honest, is just they get your consciousness and download it onto a computer so you can just live in the Sims or something. That'd be dope.
If dying is the best though, that's the only thing I worry about, is if like all of the dead love it so much and they can see us, but they can't say anything, and then they're just watching us download and they're like, no, don't do it, dying's the best, you're supposed to die.
What if it's just totally sick on the other side and we're missing out?
I think about death
you can't rule it out.
It totally, like, I think of it as like a movie I haven't seen yet, and like whenever it happens, it'll just be like, oh, it's gonna suck if nothing happens, let's be honest. But if like, it'll just be fun to see, you know, you don't want to like kill yourself to like spoil the plot, but I'm not scared of death in that way. I'm just very eager to be like, when it finally comes, I hope you have that moment where you get to go, oh, it's happening.
That's what I fear. That's my biggest fear, is I'm not bothered by dying, because like, you're dead. My problem is, oh, it's happening. That's the difference between me and you, is I don't want to see the car coming and be like, oh fuck, I can't get out of the way in time. You know, that's what I don't. That's my worst case scenario, is seeing it coming. Best case scenario, you know, I'm just walking by and a car just, you know, a tire shreds, hits me in the back of the head. I don't even see it coming and just lights out. Yeah.
Yeah, I have been in a couple situations too, and I will say this, where you're never that clear-headed enough to go, ooh, it's happening. Like, I was in a bus in the French Alps, and it almost went off this cliff, and everybody had to jump from the bus as it was like sliding down this icy road. And no part of you goes like, ooh, it's happening. It just, just goes, fucking get out of this bus, survive.
Get off the bus.
Yeah, that would have been one of those things where I was with I didn't go to the private school, but I was traveling with the private school to go to the Alps to train skiing early season. And that's one of those things where if that whole bus had gone off a cliff, everybody would have been like, wow, it's a bunch of private school kids.
Fuck those
In the
rich dicks.
Alps, I gotta say, that's not. We lost a lot of hedge funds there. That's really
I was in a car accident when I was like 20. I hit black ice and like my car rolled upside down and I was sliding and there was like a cliff's edge, but I couldn't see which direction I was going. I knew there's also an embankment and I knew there's also a ton of trees. So I'm like, if I go off the cliff, I think the trees will catch me, but I don't know.
I don't think
And so I was
that's how
just
it
sliding.
works.
I was just sliding for a long time. And that's what I miss about being religious is I wasn't scared at all. I was like,
you're like, God
I was
has
like,
me?
God's not going to let me die, but even if he does, I'll just go to heaven. So it's fine.
Wow. And you really felt it.
Yeah. I really, really had confidence in that moment. Like my heart was like pounding because just the adrenaline of what's going on, but I wasn't scared.
That's interesting. And that's interesting that you can then go to the other side and not feel that anymore.
Oh
Like,
yeah. Now whenever I'm in an elevator and I hear a weird noise, I am panicking.
but what do you think is like when you did feel it then, was it a choice to have that type of faith or was it just like a once you learn more information you couldn't choose to go back?
What do you
Because
mean?
I only mean that because if you could choose, wouldn't you just choose to have that warmth and comfort?
Um, I mean, it's the toss up of like, is the warmth and comfort worth the sacrifice of every other part of your life? You know,
So
like
you
when
think in order
yeah,
to believe you have to go along with all the rest of it too
yeah.
to get
When I
that
stopped
feeling of
being
it?
religious the first time, it felt like a ton of bricks fell off my shoulders. Like it literally, I felt relief, just this wave of relief. And
Oh,
then,
interesting.
yeah. And then like at my next birthday is when the dread set in because it's like, hey, you're still getting older and you're going to die. And now there's nothing else over there.
Friend of mine said to me on mushrooms one time, he goes, "It's only getting later from here." And that fucking blew my mind on mushrooms of just
Yeah.
like, oh, that is a eternal truth right there.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a great way to go out. It's been about an hour, and we'll go out with, you know what? God isn't there, and the warmth and comfort are gone. And I think that's what people need to hear in these tough times.
That's the message we have for all the listeners.
It was great to see you, Alice. Thank you so
You
much for being
too.
on,
Thanks for
and
having
stay
me.
safe. Say hi to Chris for me.
For sure.
All right, talk to you later.
Bye.